One day someone just sent me a DM saying they wanted to have a chat with me. I was like, well, this has happened by accident, but how do we start making this happen on purpose now? I think there's basically two ways of doing it that I know and have personally executed myself. They're serious about solving the problem. I'm the person they think of because they've seen over a long period of time that I can potentially help them. I don't just want to be paid for the amount of time I put in. I want to be paid for the amount of value I'm bringing and my ability to solve the problem. How do you make money? What do you charge, etc. And every time, nothing. These people ain't making the money. Nothing.
Hey there, real quick, if you enjoyed the show, please support by following on your favorite podcast station, review and share it with your peers to help them and me out, because I don't run any ads and every share helps. Thanks, and let's jump into it. Hey Ethan, welcome.
Hello Gabe, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you? And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from London. It is 11:11 right now, so make a wish. A bit early for me, as you know. I'm more of a late night kind of guy, so if anyone's watching the video, my eyes are a little bit squinted right now. But yeah, I'm doing good. How have you been since we spoke?
Yeah, doing fine, man. I'm calling from Bali, late here at 7 p.m. So I cannot make a wish like you. But I really appreciate that you take the time to jump so early for you in the call. So really looking forward to it. And I'm sure by the end of the call, your eyes will be fully open and ready to start your day. But please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Yeah, I always find it hard to answer that question, to be honest. I don't really know what bits to say, but my name's Ethan. I'm 24 years old. I don't think everyone knows that because of the beard, but I am probably younger than I look. And I run a marketing agency, primarily focused on helping service-based businesses make money through LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. And can you please tell me a bit about your journey, how you arrive at this place to start your business and why you choose entrepreneurship?
Yeah, so I started this with no social media background or experience. I saw all the Gary Vee clips telling people that they should make content and that they'll be successful if they make content. And so I thought, fuck it, I'll start making some content. And I had nothing to sell at the time. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just posting on Instagram and TikTok about like fashion related stuff. I don't know if you've heard of an app called Depop. It's like eBay in the UK and in America, I think. And it lets people sell secondhand clothes. So I was making like a little bit of money on there selling Stone Island jumpers. And I think I got like this top from all those years back. And so I started making content about it. I started posting on Instagram, TikTok, 1, 2, 3 times a day. I started a podcast. I met loads of people. I grew to like 5,000 followers. I wasn't making any money, but I was just kind of learning about content creation. I did that for literally 9 months. I didn't make any money from the content whatsoever. And then one day someone just sent me a DM saying they wanted to have a chat with me because they were a startup. They'd raised like a decent amount of money, like 2.5 mil. And they needed someone to do their marketing for them, do their Instagram content. And I said, cool, maybe I'll think about it. And he said, he'll give me $1,000 a month to create content for him. And at the time, the only money I'd ever made was £20 selling a jumper, £10 an hour at my job. And then someone was telling me they gave me $1,000 just for making some Instagram carousels, which I knew didn't take that long to do. So I was like, holy shit, like, fuck yes, I'll take $1,000 for that. I took it straight away. I don't even know if I signed a contract. I think he just sent me the money immediately. Like I was just on it. And then I was kind of looking at the grand and I didn't yet understand the concept of being able to add value to someone without it taking a lot of time. And so I was kind of looking at this grand and I went like overboard. There's so much work, but just there wasn't enough work to do that would occupy all of my time. And I kind of thought, damn, like I can keep selling jumpers for 20 quid profit, or I can make stuff on Instagram for people. And apparently they'll pay me like £1,000 to do it. And so that's when the agency began really. I was like, well, this has happened by accident, but how do we start making this happen on purpose now? How do I find these people who want to spend money with me? And also, how do I start doing a good job for these people? Because I don't really know anything about marketing. I've just been making stuff on Instagram that gets likes. And so it's just been a whole process then of teaching myself marketing first for free, then reaching out to other people and asking them for help. More recently, started to pay some consultants that cost quite a lot of money, but have really good knowledge they've passed on to me. Just, teaching myself about marketing, teaching myself to build an agency.
Wow, that's something. And this self-taught process is something that I love because I'm a true believer that you can learn way more by learning by yourself than any school can teach you. Of course, there are specifics that you cannot overcome, like being a doctor or something. But I love to hear that someone like you just trying things around and starting from basically learning by yourself every step of the way. It's like this type of happy accidents, like Dennis Gillian will probably tell, are wonderful. And how do you realize that the biggest problem is actually that generating leads for your customers?
I think like when I started in social media, I assumed my job would be to make people money because I thought that's what marketing does. I need to use Instagram to make money. I need to use TikTok to make people money. And it was very hard. Like I could create content that would get views. Sometimes they'd go to a link. Sometimes they'd randomly go to a website. Maybe one or two sales would fall through. But it was like I was charging people 200, 300 pounds and I wasn't making them back 200, 300 pounds. And I was thinking, damn, like this is hard. Like I'm not even charging that much. I'm not able yet to produce a solid, measurable ROI. And then I got more involved in the social media community and I found more and more of these people who were selling engagement. They were selling followers. They were selling personal branding. They were selling, being successful, quote unquote, on social media. But none of them were just selling the outcome of I generate leads and I make people money. And so I fell into that trap as well, thinking, oh, I've got it wrong. That's not what organic content does. That's what like paid ads and SEO and all those things do. Content is just about getting people likes, getting people followers. And that does have a place for many businesses. But then I kind of dived a step deeper and I realized that I think the reason most people in social media don't sell lead gen and sales is because it's very fucking hard to achieve that outcome. Because that's what good marketing would do. Good marketing for a business would have inquiries coming into the business that are high enough quality that you can close and sell to them. And the reason that 90% of people in social media don't sell that is because they don't know how to sell that. Because it's much easier to work out after a month or two how to get loads of likes on LinkedIn than it is to spend the next 6 to 12 months working out how to convert those likes into actual money for a business. Because there's a lot more steps and things that need to happen. And so out of the need for myself, because I need to generate leads for my own business, and just the fact that in my mind, if I can solve a really useful problem for people, I can charge a lot of money for it because it's worth a lot of money to them. And I just think there's a limit to how useful likes and followers and brand is, especially to like small to medium sized businesses. But if I can work out how to use LinkedIn to consistently bring high quality leads to someone's calendar that they can close and make money, well, then I can make a lot of money doing that too. And so that's just the journey I've been on. That very specific problem, how do I solve it better than anyone else? And that's just what I focus on every day.
That's awesome. And that's a huge one indeed, because I think it's one of the biggest struggles when it comes to not only small to big businesses, but also individuals that are freelancer or solopreneurs or whatever, or self-employed, trying to get those clients into the door. And what's your favorite method? I might guess that it's content creation, but how do you turn that traffic, that content into leads? What's your favorite step-by-step process?
Yeah, I think there's basically two ways of doing it that I know and have personally executed myself. Either you are waiting for someone to come to you, or you identify someone exists and then you start a conversation with them. Those are basically the only two ways you can generate a lead. They find me and say hello, or I find them and say hello. We can use content, and I think what I didn't understand, I wish I knew, and I think a lot of people still don't realize, is that you can use content to get people to come to you. But to build a truly inbound funnel where you're just creating content and then people are consistently coming to you and saying, hey, I'd like to work with you, takes an immense amount of skill. You have to be like the best content creators. And I know some people can do it, and I generate inbound leads as well. But I know the people that are generating inbound leads are fucking good at content. Like they're not just like a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10. They're like amazing. Like they're scaling LinkedIn accounts from 0 to 10K. They're getting a massive amount of reach. And because they're getting so much reach, only a very tiny bit converts into leads, but they only need a tiny bit to convert to get 3, 5, 8 leads a week. Great. Most people and most niches just aren't going to hit that kind of audience early on. I've got a client that works for HR consultancies doing 100 to 500K a year. It's such a niche and specific audience that you need a massive following for people like that to just be popping up to you all day, every day. And so you can position content so that, yeah, I know who my target client is. I'm solving problems for that person. I'm showing them I'm an expert that can help them. And eventually they come to me. But some people might pop up for a month, 4 months, 5 months, 2 years. It might take them ages before they take the leap with you. And so the approach I prefer to take is, yes, let's create content that's getting people to come to us. But then let's also be proactive and say, anyone that likes my stuff, anyone that comments on my stuff, anyone that follows me, anyone that becomes a connection on LinkedIn, If they're in my target audience, let me proactively start a conversation with them. Let me classify that as a lead, someone that is in my target audience and is interested in what I do and the content that I have, that I put out. That kind of more proactive approach of using content to get people to come to you. But as soon as you see a name that has seen your stuff and is in your ICP, or ideal client profile, being proactive and starting a conversation with them and asking them questions and seeing if there's a way you can help. That to me is like a reliable strategy for lead gen. Because if you're in the right niche and you're really good at content creation, people still come to you inbound, great. But even if you haven't and you've only got like 10 people liking your posts, as long as they're your target client and they're people you want to work with, you can now start a conversation with them because they kind of know who you are. They know a little bit about what you do. And it's enough of an in for you to start talking to them and see if you can help.
Yeah, and there are, of course, multiple ways to do that. Not just likes, but comments. People like ghosting, viewing just your profile without reacting and constantly seeing your content. And when it comes to LinkedIn, it's in theory quite easy to do that. But do you have any best practices that you apply to not come across as spammy or to not come across as someone that it's trying to sell something right away and stuff like that?
I think across my marketing and sales, I kind of take the perspective that if I know exactly who I'm serving, I know the target client I have, and I know what problem they have, it is just my job to help them see the problem and find solutions to it. And the better I can show them for free that I understand who you are, and I understand what problems you have, and I can help you solve them, the better positioned I am so that when they decide they want to spend some money with someone to really solve the problem, they choose me. So I just focus on every piece of content, who's my target client and what's one of the pain points, what's one of the fears, what's one of the beliefs they have, what's one of the misconceptions they have about their problem. How do I address it in that one piece of content? How do I help them take a little step closer towards solving this big problem they have? And you just keep doing that over and over. And if someone's serious about solving the problem, so in my case, if someone's serious about generating leads for their business and they've seen me over a period of 3 months, 5 different times, help them get in their head a little bit closer to solving that problem, a little bit of a better understanding about how to use LinkedIn or how to use content to generate leads. If they're serious about solving the problem, I'm the person they think of because they've seen over a long period of time that I could potentially help them.
Yeah, and that's trust in a word. Building that trust over time and pushing your content out there and for them seeing you, bringing results for others, showing your expertise in generating leads. It's a lot of social proof that, man, I can trust Ethan to get me leads. I can trust him to take over this part of my business. And speaking of taking parts of the business, can you get into details about how you structure your business? Since a lot of our listeners are mostly freelancers and they are trying to become either solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, how do you went about it and why you choose to build a business instead of working by yourself?
Because I think my ambition is to be a business owner and an agency owner. But if I look objectively at where I am in my journey compared to actual business owners, I'm not a business owner yet. I'm just a very well-paid freelancer because I still do a lot of work myself. My hours are still full of me doing work. And if I stop doing that work, the business, quote unquote, stops growing. So yeah, we do have a small team helping us do other bits of the work. But I would say right now, I'm probably just a really highly paid freelancer as opposed to a business owner that genuinely has a whole team function around him that he can kind of step away from. And it's just because, I mean, I could stop now, I guess. I could just be a well-paid freelancer and that would be fine. But I just don't want to. I want to build something a lot bigger than that. I feel like if I stop at just being a freelancer now, that's it really. I just keep doing what I'm doing, keep bringing in a certain amount of money every month. Fine. But I'm 24. Like I've got another 60 years. So I need to keep doing something, you know? And so I don't just want to be paid for the amount of time I put in. I want to be paid for the amount of value I'm bringing and my ability to solve a problem. And I can solve a problem a lot better if instead of me doing the copywriting and the sales and the account management and the finances and all the other things you need to do in the business, if I could get very good people to do those things for me, then we can solve the problem at a much higher level.
Love that vision. I love that thinking, since indeed you have only 24 hours in a day and without the proper focus on the actual running your business instead of working inside it, it's quite hard and you know that. But I love that you already take a step and you already have parts of the business working for you, because without that, it's really hard to actually build something meaningful. And yeah, you cannot work your ass off all your life without actually being able to enjoy rest days and so on and build something meaningful. What's your long-term vision when it comes to the work that you do? When you wake up in the morning, what drives you to continue on this path and build something that is actually going to be around for a while?
My honest answer is that I don't really have some kind of altruistic purpose. And I think that honestly, when I look at what the definition of the word entrepreneur is, someone who puts up some kind of risk for financial gain. That is the textbook definition of entrepreneur. Now, the way we use that word in colloquial language has changed over time to just kind of mean someone who gets their own shit done and finds their own way, which is fine. I understand why we use the word like that. But within the context of business, I think fundamentally an entrepreneur is someone who takes a risk and is trying to make money from it. And it's great that we now have like purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and we're great that we live in a world where we have the privilege of saying, hey, I want to find something that I feel passionate about and something that I love. But like the guys that collect my bins in the morning probably ain't that passionate about it. And the guys that make sure I have running tap water probably ain't that passionate about it. And maybe you like really love being an electrician, but you probably don't. You probably just do it because it's the practical thing to do. You have a responsibility to yourself, people around you, and that's the work that you've chosen, right? And just for me, the work I think I'm good at and I have tendency towards is entrepreneurship. It's solving problems. It's taking personal responsibility for things. And it just aligns with me well. If I could have put the same energy into a corporate career and thought I'd be successful that way, I would have. But I just don't think that environment suits me very well, So I don't have some altruistic purpose. I like being better than I was yesterday. I like solving problems. I like making money. And I'm trying to do all those three things better than I did yesterday,
Yeah, that's something that I definitely can relate. How do you find the good things to take? How do you filter that noise in order to learn the things that actually helps you?
I mean, to some extent, the answer is the credibility of the source, right? Like if you look at someone like Alex Hormozy, who has quite consistently built massive companies and as far as it seems, has no other, his content that he puts out to help people serves no other purpose other than the better he can educate people, the more successful he'll be in his own consultancy business, which I think is a fair trade. So I think to some extent is looking at the source of the information. I listened to a lot of Grant Cardone back in the day, and while I'm sure, it definitely helped with the point of the journey I was on, I don't think he's probably the person I would choose to spend money with to learn from. So to some extent, just looking at the person you're learning from and seeing if they have some outside motive for wanting you to think a certain way or believe a certain thing. But honestly, for the most part, if I look back in hindsight, 90% of my education just came from me actually doing it myself. And I didn't realize that when I started, but like most of the things I know about LinkedIn content now, it's just because I've written so much. I've just written like a shitload of it. Like I've personally written 60 a week for months. And now I review like 80 to 100 a week, every single week. And then every week we look back at what worked across all the accounts. And we just keep testing, improving. I think you can sit on a YouTube video and write notes on like loads and loads of different shit. But at the scale that I'm operating at, and I imagine a lot of other freelancers and solopreneurs are operating at, you actually only need to be good at a very small amount of things to make a decent amount of money, How do I generate leads? How do I close those leads? And how do I do a good job for my client? Marketing, sales, and delivery. And so you don't need that much information. You just need like one bit of information and then to practice loads. Like sales, for example. Sales is just someone else potentially has a problem. And if I can, I'm going to try help them. Not I'm going to push my shit on them. Just I'm going to try work out, is there a problem you have that I could potentially help you with? And I'll show you that I can help you. That's all sales is. Beyond that, I'd argue you don't really need much more sales training than just go out and do 500 sales calls. And if after like 500, you're still not closing people, then maybe there's a problem. Now you do need to find someone to really like give you some educational nugget because you're just not getting something. But for the most part, that's all sales is. If you do 500 calls with the intention of helping the person on the other side, not taking something from them, I think it's very unlikely you don't close some people and make a decent amount of money from that, I think the same with content. Like if you have a understanding of marketing that is, here's my target client, I'm going to show them that I can be trusted to help them with a problem. I'm going to put loads of content out showing that I can help them solve the problem. And then I'm going to proactively speak to everyone that likes, engages, connects, anyone that pops up and speak to them and try and sell to them. There's not much more to it than that. You just have to do it a fucking lot. You have to put out hundreds of bits of content. You have to have hundreds of conversations, but then you get really good at it to the point where you don't need to do such quantity because I know what content works now. So I can put out 5 pieces. It doesn't take me too long to write them. And I know it's going to work because of the literally like hundreds and thousands of pieces of content I wrote before that taught me this.
Yeah, and there is a huge thing here that work that you put for, I don't know, months, years in order to arrive at a certain point. Because everyone that is looking at this person that arrive at the stage of success, they're thinking, oh, this guy got successful overnight. This girl got those followers because the way she looks, but they don't see the actual work behind that content they post every single day and the mistakes they made in that content, the lesson they learn from them, as you mentioned. And once you arrive at that stage, it's easy to be judged, by others. And for example, when someone enrolled in this journey, how do you tell them to stay consistent? How do you tell them to get confidence? Because I think confidence is one of the missing pieces that a lot of people have. Because if they don't get vanity metrics in return to build that trust and build that confidence, how do you overcome that?
I think there's this big contradiction right at the start of the entrepreneurial journey where you need to like go out and sell, but you have no idea how to sell. And you need to go out and learn things, but you have no money to spend with anyone so that you can learn things. And you need to get clients so that you can practice the skill. But because you don't have the skill, you don't know how to get clients. And so in that first bit, people talk a lot about imposter syndrome. And most people say like imposter syndrome's like, don't worry about it, you're good enough. But I'd kind of offer the alternative view that actually you probably have imposter syndrome because you're shit. And like, that's why I had imposter syndrome. Like, I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough because I wasn't good enough. Like 100% wasn't imposter syndrome. I was an imposter. I was some kid in his bedroom looking at Gary Vee videos trying to build a marketing agency. Like I didn't know what I was doing, you know? And so I don't think it is imposter syndrome. I think it's a very realistic understanding of where you are in the world and that you know nothing and you're not very good. You know, we all were at that position at one point. And the only way to get out of that point is to do a lot of work. And I'm not saying a lot of work as in, burn 16-hour days and like kill yourself to stay awake through the night with Red Bulls and coffee so you can get everything done. I just mean that there's skills you don't have. You don't know how to market. You don't know how to sell. You don't know how to deliver the service you deliver for a client. And the only way to learn those skills is to practice them. Same way that you learn football by kicking a ball lots, and you learn basketball by dribbling the ball lots. You learn sales by selling a lot, and you learn content marketing by creating a lot of content, for example. And so like you probably have imposter syndrome because you're not very good. That's fine. I wasn't very good either. No one is when they start. And the only way to get good is to do lots of reps, is to practice. So I wouldn't say confidence is needed because you shouldn't be confident. There's nothing to be confident about yet. You have to kind of earn the confidence, You don't become confident and then start going to the gym. You go to the gym for 6 months, 12 months. You start to feel a lot better about yourself and you earn the right to feel confident because now you're competent. It's the same in business. You earn the right to feel confident by trying lots while you don't and being embarrassed and failing and not being very good. But because you've tried so hard, eventually you learn it. And then one day you can jump on here and say, look, I don't know everything, but I feel relatively confident in the stuff I do because I've practiced it a lot.
Love that perspective. And yeah, it's so true. Since a lot of people expect to, become overnight experts in a field or reading a book or watching a YouTube video, oh, I know everything about the subject. But everything that involves starting your own business or being a freelancer or whatever involves those skills that you mentioned. First and foremost, sell. You have to know how to sell yourself. You have to know how to market yourself, to put yourself out there. And if you cannot, after that, deliver, you can know all the marketing tactics in the world if you cannot deliver. So those three together are killer. And yeah, for anyone listening, just as Ethan said, put in the work, do the reps, fail a lot. Everyone learn like that. Of course, you can learn from others' mistakes, which is always better. But in the same time, if you don't fail as well with some things, the learnings might not stick. And when it comes to learnings, so far in your journey, what was the biggest one?
I'd probably say two things that come into mind. They're both kind of related. One is that I remember a Gary Vee quote from ages back. I must have been like 17, 18 when I started watching his videos. It was a long time ago. And he said, acting like you're trying to win in 10 years is the best way to actually win in one. Because when you start to make decisions based on the long term, when you start to make decisions based on the right thing to do, not the thing that's going to just get the result as quickly as possible, you start to make the right decisions, and the right decisions tend to fall into place and actually produce a result a lot faster than you realize. And because of that, instead of setting a goal for 10 years that says, I'm going to be a millionaire, that doesn't mean anything because you have no idea what it takes to become a millionaire. And so you can say, I want to make £50,000 a month, but because you don't know what input produces that output, it's kind of a meaningless goal. Like, how do you know by the end of the day that you got a step closer or not? Because you've got no idea what it takes to get to that point. So instead, it's like flipping the script and saying, okay, I'm aiming for 10 years. And what I'm going to do over that next 10 years is consistently every week carve out time to master the skills I need to get to that point. And so I'm no longer setting a goal for, I need to make 10K by the end of the month, which is just a random thing I've said. Like, I've got no evidence. Well, I do now, but before then I had no evidence as to what I would need to do to produce that outcome. So instead I flip it and say, this week I'm going to spend X amount of time writing content. I'm going to write X number of posts. I'm going to do this number of reach outs, and I'm going to spend this amount of time researching some extra stuff for my clients and learning how to do a better job. And if I just keep doing those three things over and over and over, the amount of hours I'll stack up getting good at those things will produce whatever outcome they produce. But it's instead just focusing on the daily activities I need to do every day to just get a little bit better at the skills that are important, with the intention of, if I keep doing this for 10 years, then I'll be good enough. And ironically, every time I had that mindset is when I start making the fastest progress in the short term. Because I'm not thinking about on a sales call, how do I get this money off someone? I really need it because I need to close for the end of the month. I'm just thinking this is one practice session of 1,000 that I'm going to do over the next few years. Pressure's off. I can have a much more organic conversation. They tend to go a lot better. So to summarize, thinking really long term. And because of that, just focusing on the daily actions you need to do that over the long term will stack up.
And you basically stay motivated thanks to that goal that you have in mind, because you know that, okay, I wake up today and I have this thing. Maybe I don't feel it. Maybe I'm tired. Maybe, I don't know, I feel sick or whatever.
I mean, motivation is an interesting one. I don't know if I do feel all that motivated. It's an interesting one. Does it make me motivated, that goal? Not really. I don't know if I do feel all that motivated for my work most of the time. I'm tired as hell right now. I'm not going to lie to you, Gabe. There's no energy in me that's saying like, I can't wait to like go out and get it. But I don't know. I don't know what else I would do with my time. Like, it's not that I love going to the gym. Sometimes I get into it, sure. Like I have a good time there. But it's just like, I don't want to stay in bed and just be lazy and a bum and watch YouTube videos. And so even though I might not 100% be feeling it, it's just the alternative of doing nothing seems a lot worse. It's not like I'm like mad motivated to become some super successful person. Like, maybe you might think that from the way I speak about stuff, but it's just like, what else am I going to do in my life, Gabe? Like, what else? So if I'm not trying to achieve something, life has no particular meaning. We don't have to do anything. So I might as well try and do something that's going to take me a long time and I'll be really satisfied when I achieve it. It's not necessarily about motivation. I'd argue it's more just about like sounds like a bit of a dramatic word, but duty. Like, what else are you going to do, man? Get shit done.
Yeah, I like that. And going back to your work, you have in mind any type of myth that you can think of about your profession that you want to debunk?
Probably the amount of people in social media that look like they're making money. They're just 100% are not. I go off on kind of the personal branding industry a lot in my content. And it's funny because the only people that respond to it in the comments are the few people I'm not speaking about in the personal branding industry. Like Shoaib Ahmed, for example, excellent at what he does. Niall Ratcliffe doesn't quite do personal branding, but like there's an element of personal branding to it. Excellent at what they do. Like, I personally work with both of them, can 100% vouch for them. They're very good. But the majority of people in the personal branding is bad. And I feel like sometimes Shoaib reads my posts and thinks I'm talking about him. I'm not talking about him because he actually is good at what he does. But most people in the personal branding space are just selling personal branding because they can't sell actual marketing that gets people a result. And so small business owners are seeing all these people on LinkedIn that look super successful. They're seeing these personal branding people with lots and lots of likes, and they're saying, oh, this person is really popular. I'm going to reach out to them because I want to also have this for my own business. But the problem is, when you build a strong personal brand and then you sell personal branding, your own brand is proof you can do it. And so people come to you as a lead, and therefore you can say, oh, look, I generated 5 leads. I'm great at personal branding. People come up to me. But having an accountant, having a personal brand, isn't that useful? Because the personal brand on its own, the fact that you have followers and likes, doesn't prove that you are an answer to people's problems. It doesn't prove that you're an expert that can be trusted to help someone grow their business. It just proves that you're popular, which is all you need if you're a personal branding person. But if you're an accountant, or if you're a lawyer, or if you're something else, there's a lot more you need to do with your content to prove to people that you're someone that can be trusted to be hired and help them solve a problem. And so when I came on LinkedIn, I'm speaking to these people with all these likes, and I'm thinking, damn, these people are so much better than me. And I've been doing this shit for 9 months, 12 months. I'm still not making any money. Like, what's going on? And then I started speaking to them, and I was like, oh my God, thank you for taking the time. Like, I didn't think you would, because you have so many followers and likes and blah, blah, blah. And I'm taking all these notes, and I'd always take the conversation to, so then how do you convert all this? So you've got all this attention. How do you make money? What do you charge, etc.? And every time, nothing. These people ain't making the money. Nothing. I specifically remember one guy I'm thinking of in my head. I spoke to him. He has like 15K followers, regularly gets 200 likes a post. I spoke to him, and I wanted to hire him as copywriter because I needed some people to outsource some work to. I was too busy. And I said, can you show me some previous work you've done, some paid work? And he had none. He'd never, ever signed a client. And he was like a personal branding expert, teaching other people the benefits of personal branding. He'd never signed a client in his life. And so there are some people that are doing personal branding and making people money. Like I said, the names I mentioned, there are some people that are doing that. The vast majority are. The vast majority have worked out how to get likes, and they've worked out how to build an audience and community and all these words that we hear people say. But the reason they're not selling lead generation and clients acquisition is because they don't know how to do lead generation and client acquisition. Because otherwise they'd say that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, true. And there is also this silver lining when they influence others to see things that way. Like, oh, it's enough to build, 10K followers and you'll be successful and you'll be settled for life. No, it's not.
That is the perfect point. Like, when you look at the statistics, 8%, I'm in the UK, 8% of the UK, people in the UK have even tried to start a business. And 3% of those people have ever gotten to 7 figures, which is 8K a month. We're talking about a very small portion of people in the country that have worked out how to actually make money at that scale and grow a business at that scale. And so correct advice on how to do that should be very rare. Because of all those people, how many of them are creating content on LinkedIn telling you what to do? Very few. Like, they're genuinely very few of them are going to be on that platform giving genuinely good advice that you can use. There isn't to like sell some course or something as well. So kind of like loaded with biased information. So to be able to learn, if you scroll down your LinkedIn feed and 20 people telling you that it's all about the comments, it's not the content, it's all about the comments. Like, it can't be true because there's not this many successful people out there. If you all agree this is the way to do it, it's very unlikely that's the way to do it because it's very hard. If it was so easy, everyone would do it. Like, I think marketing is such a low barrier to entry that everyone starts on social media. They decide they're going to run a social media agency and they start saying stuff about social media and marketing. And I know they do it because I did it as well. That's how I started my journey, just creating content, saying stuff. And because it has such a low barrier to entry, there's so much advice that is just not good. Doesn't come from a place of experience. And it's not because people are being malicious. They're doing their best. They're trying to market their business. They're doing what they think they should do by copying everyone else. But the truth of it is, most people in marketing do not know how to make money because it's very fucking hard. It takes people years and years to learn. I'm only 2 years in. I'm literally banging this shit out 16 hours a day. I've got so much left to learn just within the vein of LinkedIn marketing. I've not even started learning about paid ads and influencers and all the other crazy stuff you can do just on social media, let alone the rest of the digital landscape. It's very hard to learn this stuff to a high level. And so if you've seen the same generic advice every time you scroll through LinkedIn, it probably doesn't work because there's not this many successful people out there. And they're not doing it by spending 15 minutes a day commenting on random people's posts. It's not as simple as that, you know?
Yeah, true. And another thing that you mentioned earlier regarding the barrier of entry into marketing, I'm thinking of this guy, Luis Granier, who's actually running a really cool podcast, Everyone Hates Marketers. He's a marketer, by the way. And the guy spent years studying positioning. And that's the biggest thing in marketing. If you know how to position yourself, but it's so hard that not a lot of businesses out there actually break that code. Of course, there are a few that stand out, let's say Coca-Cola, because you can literally tell a bottle of Coca-Cola in the dark. That's the brand. And of course, position is more than that, but it's so freaking hard to position yourself. Marketing, it's huge. I'm not sure if there is any other field as big as marketing with so many subcategories. Maybe you have any idea about something else, but personally, I cannot come up with something now.
Yeah, it is a massive industry with so much nuance. And to just get even good at one bit of it is fucking hard, man. To get really good at it. To get to the point where, again, just within the context of what I do, using LinkedIn to generate leads for service-based businesses, to get to the point where I could jump on a call and say, hey, Gabe, as soon as you put this phone down and sign the contract, 24 hours later, there'll be leads in your inbox. That's what you want to deliver for a client. Because if you can do that, you can charge a shitload of money. You can say, in fact, don't even pay me. Just I'll take half the money you make from the lead. That's how confident I am I can do what I do. To get to that point is so immensely difficult. Like it's going to take me ages. And all I'm doing is, how do I write better content? How do I have better conversations to convert off the content and to get people to book onto calls? It's basically like a 2-step process. And I'm doing it again and again and again. And I'm still learning new stuff and I'm still failing and I'm still trying to work out how to solve the problem better and better and better. And I'm going to do it for ages before I crack it. It's going to take me years before I can get to that perfect point where I can bang on do it 100% guaranteed every single time. And I'm just doing one tiny thing, which is like LinkedIn organic content. There's so many other ways to do marketing. Yeah, because it's fucking hard. It's a difficult thing, And it's obvious why no one could just jump in and be a doctor. And it's obvious why no one could just jump in and be an electrician. And it's like equally complex to work out how to be good at a specific part of marketing,
Yeah, definitely. And since we're on this topic, I want to challenge yourself to build a step-by-step process for someone that is looking into ways to generate leads for their business. What will be the steps to arrive at the point that, okay, I'm confident that with this strategy that I tried, it will generate leads for me for the time being, and maybe I can repurpose on other strategies after that?
Yeah, cool. I would start by picking one channel. And what I mean by one channel is one way I'm going to acquire customers. That can be LinkedIn organic content. That could be TikTok organic content. It could be Twitter. It could be paid ads if you have a bit of money. It could be cold email. It could be cold calling. It could be networking events. It can be whatever you want, but just pick one of them. And then I would say, no matter what, I'm not going to change from this thing for the next 12 months. I'm going to learn how to sign clients through cold email or LinkedIn or whatever. And the reason I say that is because if your level's much, much higher than us, I'm sure there's boards that sit down and make decisions as to what channel of acquisition is going to be the best ROI for them, where they should be investing their budget, their time, their effort. At our level, most of us would be over the moon making 10K a month. Any channel will get you 10K a month. Not any channel could get you maybe 100 or 100,000 or whatever kind of numbers the big boys are playing with. But basically any channel, whether it's cold email, LinkedIn, whatever, can get you to 10K. The only reason it can't is because you don't know how to do it very well. And so the answer in 99% of cases, in my personal opinion, is not that LinkedIn is the problem or Instagram is the problem or cold email is the problem. It's that you don't know how to do it yet. And you're not very good at it. And so there's no point going for 4 months and saying, oh, LinkedIn doesn't work. LinkedIn does work. Is it the best possible option for you? Maybe not, but you don't need the best. You just need enough to get you 10K a month, which you'd be amazingly happy with. And that just comes from sticking to whatever channel you've decided for long enough until you get good at it. On a fundamental level, that would be my advice. So I was completely starting again. I started a new business and I couldn't use LinkedIn, for example. Let's say I can't use that. I can't use previous skill. I have to start again. I would just pick one and learn how to do it. YouTube videos, lots and lots of practice. Use the little bit of first money I have to reinvest and hire some kind of coach or consultant to teach me to do it better. But just religiously focus on how am I going to get good at it is really one thing. That's what I've done with LinkedIn. I found LinkedIn. I was doing like 7 different things for acquisition, all sorts of different platforms, network and everything. Found LinkedIn. I thought this shit is good. So from now on, I'm just going to focus on getting really good at using LinkedIn to acquire customers. And that's all I do. My whole business is built around me posting 5 pieces of content a week and having conversations in the DM. Every single client comes from that because I'm just learning how to get really good at that one thing. That's all I need to get to a decent level,
Yeah, I love that advice. And the power of focus, it's so underrated. Focusing on one thing for a consistent period of time, like 12 months, is just, it's almost impossible to not generate leads for you.
I kind of say to myself, I got this line from Hormozy and it's great. It would be unreasonable if I send 50 cold emails every single day for the next 6 to 9 months. It'd be unreasonable that I don't sign a client. 50 cold emails every damn day for 6 to 9 months. Some of them are going to get read. And some of the ones that get read, some will get a response. And some of the ones that respond will get on a call with you. And some of them will close. Maybe it's not very many, maybe not very good, but it's fucking unreasonable that you put that much effort into it and you don't make a bit of money. And then you can use that money to get some education and get better at it. You can use the experience to improve it and get better at it. But it's just committing it to it for a long enough time period at high enough levels of activity that something has to come of it. There's no way the amount of LinkedIn content I was writing, I didn't get a little bit good at it. Will I become like the leading expert in it? I mean, who knows, right? That's what I'm trying to do. But it was unreasonable writing 60 LinkedIn posts every damn fucking week. All I did was write, study, write. That's all I did. It's unreasonable I don't learn a little bit how to make money from this. And then I did. And then I used that money to reinvest, and I got better, and it grew from there, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's a huge one, to reinvest the money, either in your education or in your business. What's next for you when it comes to your business?
More of the same, man. Exactly what I've been saying for this. I've worked out how to make a decent bit of money through LinkedIn, both for my clients and for myself. And so I'm just going to get really fucking good at that. I have no intention of doing anything different over the next 3 years. I'm just going to keep writing content, or more nowadays, reviewing the content my team writes and trying to teach them to do it so I don't have to review it. But fundamentally, that's the problem I want to solve. There are service-based businesses, more specifically for me, marketing agencies, marketing freelancers, that want to be making money from LinkedIn. They want to be signing clients. That's the problem. I'm just going to keep working out how to solve that problem. Nothing else. Nothing changes. Just again and again. Because once I'm very fucking good at that problem, I can charge a lot of money for it. Because I can give that value back to people, you know? So more of the same, Gabe. More of the same.
Awesome mentality, man. I love that. And can you please tell our listener where they can find you if they want to work with you? Of course, on LinkedIn, but
LinkedIn's the only place. I mean, I don't even have a website, right? Because to build a website, I'd have to learn how do I drive traffic to a website and then convert that traffic into leads. That's a separate skill that's just distracting me from the one skill I have, which is LinkedIn lead generation. So I have no website. I have nothing else. If you go to teamhustle.co.uk, it'll just come up with a blank screen. It's just my email. But yeah, Ethan Golding on LinkedIn. You can drop me a message, connection, follow. And if you're a marketing agency or freelancer, don't worry about messaging me, because I will message you, because that's what I do all day.
Awesome, man. Love it. And I'll put as well the link in the show notes. And before wrapping up, I want you this time to come out with a challenge for our listeners that doesn't take longer than 24 hours to complete, and to help them take that step forward in order to be able to actually start converting those conversations they have in the DMs with their ideal customers into leads.
Yeah. So if I talk about this within the context of LinkedIn, but it could apply to something else if you wanted it to, it would just be set an action that you're going to take in the 24-hour period. So on my end, it's send out 30 new connections and start 20 new conversations with people that have commented, liked, or connected with me. That's my 24-hour bit of sales work. And then I do that the next 24 hours. And I do that the next 24 hours. And I just keep repeating that same input to the end of the month. I can measure what outcome do I get, how many sales do I close. And so I guess my challenge for someone listening would be, pick what your daily activity is going to be, whether you go networking events, cold email, whatever it is, the hell you do. Pick what that daily activity is going to be. Do it for the next 24 hours and measure your success, not based on the outcome you get, but on whether or not you did the input. Because most likely, if you've never done it before, 30 messages are just going to get ignored. But if you keep sending 30 messages, one of them will get a response, and you'll say, so there's something there. People respond to this kind of message. And then maybe you try it again and 2 get a response. You're like, I'm learning something here. And then for every 30, maybe you get 10 responses. You're like, all right, I'm getting decent responses now, but how do I get them onto a call? And it's only by every day committing to 30 new connections, 20 new messages, 30 new connections, 20 new messages, that you get to that point where you're confident that every time you send 30 connections, you'll sign a client, for example. So that's my challenge. Pick a task today that you're going to keep doing every day for the next 90, 180, however long it takes to start making some money.
Yeah, amazing. Hopefully those listening are taking notes and start applying, because actually getting clients is not that hard. Even that is the most asked questions online. How do I get clients? How do I get paid? It's not that hard if you start learning and applying. Thanks again, man.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it, Gabe. Good speaking.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Make sure to check the show notes where you'll find direct links to the tools and resources mentioned in this episode, and much more. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to subscribe to your favorite podcast station to not miss when we drop the next one. We have lots of exciting guests and surprises for you coming up. This is your host, Gabe Marushka, with the Nomad Solopreneur Show. Until next week, pura vida!